Hello, everyone. Yeah, I'm truly excited to be here today as part of the Tech Up Africa Mentorship Program. My name is Johnpaul Okeke, as earlier stated. And like many of you, I started my journey filled with a lot of questions, right? How do I stand out? Where do I start looking for jobs? What do employers really want to see? Because you spend quite a number of times, months, years, if possible, learning a particular skill set. And the optimal goal is to be able to utilize these skills that you have, and to be honest, make money. Right? It's always going to be there. And the truth is that it takes a person an average of 6 to 3 years for a beginner that is currently learning something, whether tech related or a particular skill, not necessarily tech. It takes an average of 6 to 3 years for them to land their first job, and this is very real. And in that period, you have people that are going to feel lost. You have a lot of self-doubt that will be coming. You're doing a lot of learning, and you're not seeing that thing translate into the real workforce that you've been told probably when you started. There's a lot of frustration that it comes with, and it's something that I think I've been through that. And what changed that was not just learning more and more, it's having a clear direction and strategy alongside for visibility so that you can be seen and people can actually utilize this process. So today's session, we'll be talking about building your portfolio and job search strategy. It's not just about giving you answers. We are here to give you the tools so that you can copy your own story and showcase your skills and step confidently into this world of opportunities. Whether you're pivoting into tech or just getting started or aiming to level up, the truth is simple. You'll need a proper portfolio, that will serve as your pitch, and you need to have a job search strategy that's going to serve as your game plan. So let's make sure that you leave here today in this session both refined, intentional, and tailored to your goals. So what we are going to be exploring today is broken into four major concepts. We'll look into what makes a solid portfolio. It's not just something pretty. You want something that actually helps you to get hired. And then we'll move into navigating the job market, where to search, how to search, what recruiters are looking for, and lastly, we'll take into your questions. Like, take questions if you have any. Um, so before we talk about what goes into a portfolio, what goes into a portfolio, let's ask what actually makes a professional portfolio. That's the first question, right? It's not just a digital resume or a collection of links, because portfolio can come not just as a resume or CV. You can also have like a link, be it Behance if you're trying to showcase a design, if it's an actual website that you build that has a lot of projects showcase around. You want to make sure that it is up to its standard and up to par, and very importantly, it tells a story. Yeah, its portfolio is a personal brand that is brought to life. So what makes a professional portfolio? It's a document, an item, or something that that people can review, that showcases your best work and explain your processes. You can tell the story of what you do and how you can actually add value to your team in your own words and style. So a lot of people, in this era now, it's very easy for you to go online and just doctor a portfolio. It's just ChatGPT, there's AI, you can easily just cook it, help me make this better, help me make this better. But there's always a feel when something is more tethered to you, right? Something that actually highlights what you do well. You don't want to have that system where everything looks. People can literally read a CV. I've been on the end of hiring for jobs and all that, and I could read a CV and tell, okay, this is not it, right? Just by the look of it, because it looks all AI generated. Now we also have a lot of tools that are also scanning these CVs to, portfolios, checking it out for if it's something that a user actually generated and all that stuff. So you want to make sure that in all you do, you put in a lot of, like, just it doesn't take a lot, but you want to put in a lot of work to making sure that your portfolio stands out. And that's the power of a great portfolio. You don't know who is looking at it at any point in time. Maybe you've sent it to somebody and the person sent it to another person, and that person just say, okay, let me just go through this thing, maybe 11 o'clock p.m. and they are just seeing or you showcasing your skill and your projects. So it's very important that your portfolio makes a good first impression. It's your digital handshake. No matter what, it's the best chance to stand out. So you want to make sure you have something that showcases what you can do right. And when it is done right, it opens doors. I mean, not just jobs, but conversations, collaborations, and even global opportunities. So we go into the next. Um, there are certain things that set your portfolio apart from an average one. Like I was saying earlier, I said that you don't want a situation where a reviewer, someone that's HR are supposed to go through your CV, looking at it and be like, okay, there's something, this doesn't feel genuine. It feels like even by the content, just reading it, you can tell when a CV is not real, when it's not generated by, you didn't put a lot of time or actually highlight what you can do. It's just something ChatGPT is typing out for you, and it's a lot. That's why it's very important to actually put in time. And the few things that would set your portfolio apart. The first one is making sure that you are very clear. You have a very clear CV. It should be clean. It should be easy to navigate. If it's a link, if it's a document, make sure that it's something that just by seeing it, the user is not turned off, right? um you want to I wish I didn't know I had quite a lot of time for this. I'd have made more samples of what a portfolio shouldn't look like. But you want to make sure that you have a very clean and concise CV, so that a recruiter can easily navigate. I can tell what is going on here, and making sure that the layout is not messy. You don't want a confusing layout. Those kind of things make your recruiter, they lose focus in seconds. They just get over it, right? And next one, which is very important, like very, very important, you need targeted resume. You need something that you don't want to just upload a CV. As I am right now, I have up to 7 CVs at least, because for everything you're trying to apply for, down to the specific role you are trying to apply for, you want to make sure that this CV that you are creating is dynamic to that role. You don't just put, people say full stack developer. Full stack developer is a whole niche, right? You could have somebody that wants Rust, somebody that there's no in cases like that, you want to have all your other experiences highlighted, yes. But very importantly, you want to make sure that that CV is speaking to the particular job role that was requested, right? So that's what it means by having a targeted resume. Don't just upload any version. Make sure that you tailor it to the type of role that you're applying for and show relevant experience. You can put other things there, but make sure that that thing that you're trying to apply for is what stands out in this CV, so that me as an employer that wants you for this particular role, I want to be comfortable that I'm comfortable and confident that, okay, for this role you're trying to apply for, you actually know what you're doing or what you want to do. Show that you are growing, in what you are doing. You need to show growth in your CV creation. Like, okay, I started from that is another thing people look out for in CVs. Okay, I'm trying to apply for full stack, right? Develop CV. You have far from this, like you need to make sure that be somewhere, not just where did you start from, what boot camp did you start with, did you do an internship, is simple, single every single thing that would be needed. This is showcase at least focus on one. Just show codes of you able did yeah, very important to focus on things I think that can light on experience of highlight specific bullet thing you should be doing, having multiple fonts in it or irregular spacing. Everything needs to be aligned in a way that your CV looks clean and attractive enough that the user would want to read it. I don't see this minimum amount. At least
Hello, please, the network is breaking.
hello, am I audible now?
It's okay now.
Okay. Sorry, I can't really see the screen. I'm just focused here, but I would make sure I'm checking it once in a while. Okay, thank you for that. So as I said, it's very important to have a call to action in every single route that you are working on, right? There should be a link that directs them to be able to review where you are currently. Check out the links. If it's a project that you've worked on, add a link to it. If it's a place you worked in, add a link to the place. Make sure that your CV looks as real, because you can't have GPT put all those things in it. You want your CV to stand out. And when you have a CV that you're already putting all these action items in it, automatically the person knows, oh, this person actually did this thing he said he did. He worked in this place he said he worked in. It's very nice, and just aesthetically pleasing to see that you have navigations in the right appropriate places. If it's your certification that you've done, it doesn't take you one or two to add a link there, just like this person did here, to see these things that you've said you are proclaiming to work on. So your portfolio should say that you've actually done this thing and you're actually ready to work. That's it. That's just the goal and essence of this. So additional essentials are making sure that you add, if possible, certifications. I mean, that's why you are doing a lot of all these programs and all that. You want to make sure you have certifications up there that actually works, that can be navigated to, and all your contact information are up to date. Phone number. If it's a Figma, if you're a designer, you have a Figma designer they can redirect to and the like. So everything should be up to date. So you have tools for building your portfolio. They include things like GitHub. Naturally on GitHub, you can go to the README file and have a system of your portfolio information detailed there, all you do, how you do it. You can use things like Notion, Wix, and Square for a website URL, even LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a very good portfolio by default. Just by optimizing your LinkedIn profile alone, you can have an actual setup, an actual setup of where all your projects are and the like. So LinkedIn is also a very good tool for portfolio building. Now let's talk about something that can make or even break your portfolio. It's very important. Your writing. Yeah, because no matter how sleek the layout is, what you say and how you say it is what really connects you with people. So people actually go through these things and read out the contents, what you are trying to interpret there. And you want to make sure that that is also something that is looked at properly and is done accurately. Because no matter how sleek your layout is, what you say is what actually connects you with people. And here are 4 simple and powerful writing tips that can elevate your portfolio. Very important. The first one is to be result driven. Don't just say what you did, you have to say what you accomplished. Instead of saying I worked on the front end, say I built a responsive interface and improved the user retention by 15%, user experience by this. Like, you have to make sure that everything you are doing, you're intentional about what the results were, because that's what people want to know. How well did you optimize the database? How fast did you get all the processes? What improvements, if you're a designer, I'm sure you, maybe it's a landing page that you built and you've updated this landing page design. Now you'll get to have more actions, more activities on the platform due to your design. You have to make sure you are giving an actual statistic number to show how what your results were, and always tie your work to an outcome. So the next one is to always use metrics, right? Put a number, because numbers actually create trust. They show the impact and the scale. Just like I said earlier, even if it's small, you reduce the load by 2 seconds. That's a thing there, because a lot of people have servers that are giving them a lot of problems right now. They are trying to get it to be optimized. So you want to make sure that you are very particular about the things that you did there. Reduce load time by 2 seconds. You manage the database with 1,000 record plus. Add a number. Use appropriate metrics in your writing mechanism. So the next one is tailor your content. One size doesn't fit it all. Customize your portfolio based on the roles you want. Just like I said earlier, if you're applying for a data analyst role, highlight dashboards, visualization, and Python scripts, and not just your UI projects. Make sure that you are making all your content dynamic to what you are trying to apply for. Don't just somebody say send me a CV, you send it. Try to understand what the role is and make sure that the at least top 3 projects or experience level is highlighting what you're actually trying to apply for, what you need the job for. So that way they already have this confidence that you are the guy for this. Align your examples with your target job, and proofread meticulously. You want to typos are very bad. They give bad impression. So you read everything aloud. Make sure you use tools like maybe Grammarly, or get even friend to review it. I review a lot of my friends' CV, and I've had people review mine too. So make sure you have a polished portfolio that reflects a professional mindset. Writing is your silent voice. Make it clear, make it confidence, make it confident, make it compelling. And that brings us to the end of um portfolio creation. And if we have that, we can now move into the next thing. How do you get that portfolio in front of the right people? How do you actually get a job? And this is a very, very important topic. And having a great work is one thing, but knowing where to look for this job, how to apply for it, and how to stand out is a different skill entirely. A lot of people going through a lot because they learned all these things, they learned all these skills, and they know it. It's not like they're actually very good at it, but you hear them talk about how they've not been able to get a job in 2 3 years. Even as at the time I was learning for the first time I started with web development, HTML, CSS, and I tell you, I was there was a lot of work conversation around, oh, web development is saturated, a lot of people are doing it. Don't waste your time in this thing, that go and learn AI or machine learning or what. I'm not saying that those are not good alternatives too, but I'm just saying that if it's something that you want to do, don't be discouraged because of people saying that you won't see job market for it. You just need the right strategy. And that's what we're going to be communicating. That's what we're talking about here. You need to have the right know-how on how to actually get these jobs. Um, so let's dive into this session, right? The second part is job search strategy. Um, this part is where most people get overwhelmed. So what I've learned is that job search is not about just sending CVs out there. You have people. In fact, there was a time when you are now categorizing the amount of rejections you've gotten in a week. That's the statistics we're checking out, just because of how very rigorous and stressful it is to just keep sending CVs. And they even have automated systems for it where they will just reject all your thing at once. You see all the emails come by 12 o'clock. We are sorry, we are sorry, we are sorry. So you don't just want to be putting out CVs there and you don't have a proper flow or strategy of how to actually get this role you're looking for. So the first step is to define your career goals. It's very important. Like, just as important as learning this goal, you need to define what it is that you are doing. What exactly are you excited about? Not just I'm trying to learn this to get a job. Is this something that you fancy, aside from not, because if you fancy it, it makes it easier when you get to that stage where you don't have the job is looking like it's not coming, right? You still have more passion because this is something you're passionate about. You have more passion to just keep doing what you're doing, and have better resilience towards them not getting it on time. So you need to make sure that you are defining exactly what you're doing. You're not just doing it because somebody said, "Oh, if you can make XYZ money from this," it's a very bad way to start. So defining your career goals is very important. What industry are you interested in? What exactly do you want to do? Are you trying to build things? Do you want to analyze them? Are you trying to manage products or design experiences? Like, what exactly is the flow part you want to do? Don't learn a lot of things. Don't go ahead putting your head in web development, mobile development, UI design. You want to be the whole IT department, and you're expecting that CV that you have with all these other things will stand out. There are people that are using 5 years to just learn mobile development, and they get the job in the 6th year. So you want to make sure you have a streamlined thing that actually excites you in your career. And when I started, I was very particular about what I wanted to be. I always had fascination about how Facebook worked. Just generally looking at their website, I'm like, oh, okay, how exactly are they doing this this thing? Making people chat and all that stuff. So web development has always been something that I fancied. That's before even transitioning into software, where I now build solutions for people both in the education industry and oil and gas industry. But we'll get into that. The importance of this is that I knew what I wanted to do. I was very set on, this is what I want to do. I want to design, I want to build things on web, because those were the easiest way to get solutions out there. You don't need to spend a lot of money when you're doing web development. At least that was my mindset at the time. It was very cheap and cost effective, and I didn't have to do a lot. I just picked up my Visual Studio Code and I could start creating things. So that was very, very key into why I chose um web development. I started with front end, and Now that I started that, I could filter out noise and focus. I just focus on what I was doing, learning as much as I could learn. And now, next transition is what your target roles are, right? What are the potential of what you could do now that you know XYZ? What are the target roles? What are the possible options that you have? Don't wait until you're ready. There's no, you're never ready. That's the best thing about you are never ready to start applying for a job. The moment you feel it, the moment you can do something, be it a landing page, be it a single portfolio, that's when you start looking for a job. You don't start when there's no course that you finish and be like, okay, now that I'm done with this course, I can start looking for a job. It just doesn't, realistically doesn't work that way. It's what you know, what you've been able to do, or you can show that determines. But that shouldn't limit you to start looking for a job. You can start just as soon as you are, even while learning. As far as you know that the passion around what you are doing, because that passion is one thing. Once you have that passion, even if you're a newbie and somebody says, "Hey, I have a job for you," you can always find a way around it because this is something that you actually love and you're interested in doing. So study the requirement of each of the roles. So I remember when I also started, I always make sure that when I'm looking at job roles, they always have extra stuff, even though they don't need it. They always have the extra stuff attached to it. Like somebody will say front end development, they will say before you know what you're saying Docker, you're saying some other additional items that is not so relevant to the things you're trying to achieve. And then they put it there, and you're expected to have an idea of this, right? So study the requirements, see what skills are common across them. They're asking for React, is it SQL, is it Figma, is it Agile? Then create a spreadsheet. Track at least 10 to 20 roles that you're interested in this spreadsheet and notes down the recurring skills. What is the common skill that everything seems to have? Now that can now be your learning path, that can be your guide, because you are in that phase where you're trying to transition from what you've been learning versus the real world, and those two things are different things, right? There's always something that you don't know yet. So you can always look at all of these job roles, identify what is common between them, and make sure that those are what you now focus on learning while you're looking for job. Because you're never done learning. Even down to this period that I'm still learning. I'm still taking a course. I'm still learning something new because the workforce needs you to be current with new things, new technology. The next thing is also to optimize your presence online. That's as important as what you are doing. So if you're doing something and you don't have an online presence, nobody knows what you're doing, then that just defeats the purpose. You are not going to make money. It's very important. You're not going to make money. You want to make sure that for whatever you are doing, you're able to. And I know that it's not easy because I'm coming from a point where I'm an introvert and I had a lot of issues putting the things that I've done out there, especially on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a very it's a very interesting place to be in when you're checking it out. You see everybody that is putting how they are building helicopter in the sky, some weird unrealistic stuff there. And then those kind of things can get into your head. So show that small project that you've worked on, if it's a basic calculator or whatnot. Those things shouldn't matter. And in order to put yourself online, you can always start small. It doesn't have to be. I'm speaking for the people that are. I mean, LinkedIn is just as important as anything, yeah. But I'm speaking for the people that, because I'm coming from a place where I can understand why it won't be very easy to put on LinkedIn. But I just want you to know that it is very vital. It's very important, right? If you're coming from a place where you feel like, okay, this is something that you can't do easily because of maybe shyness, because of maybe one other thing, you can always start small. I mean, you have your WhatsApp for a good reason, right? You can always start with your social media that is more closer to you. And if you have that, always put that. At least you can start with that, because the people that are on your contact list are people that you actually know. So you shouldn't be shy or have a problem putting your things out there, because they are always going to be the one that will help you. You don't know how it works, but it's always very good to make sure that your WhatsApp has your contact list, your very close people have understanding of what exactly you are doing, whether you are learning, whether you have known it, whether you have already gotten projects or raised them. Show your contact list. Make sure that everybody there. If I use it to stress, usually I don't know if we have people that are vendors in this place. No matter what, everybody must have at least one or two vendors that send their WhatsApp. Have you ever seen them not posting a day what they sell? Now it gets to a point where the mental side of it is coming from, oh, if you now need this particular thing that this person is selling, you already know that this person is selling it because the mental side of it is already there. She has put it there, they have put it there, they put it there every day that, oh, if I want to get maybe a birthday gift, I already know who to text. If I want to get maybe a birthday cake and I don't want to worry about it, I already know who to text because somebody on my contact list is selling it. Now, the mental side of that vendor always putting out their product that they want to sell on their WhatsApp status is what we can now bring as the technical people here. Show them what you do. I remember when I started, I didn't have the courage for WhatsApp, I mean, for LinkedIn or Twitter and the likes. And again, I'm not saying don't do it or you should lay into that have not having the courage, but I'm just saying for people like that, I always make sure that at least I put out the things that I put on my like if I build a simple website, I just put it on my status. I'll be like, can you guys rate this? I would make sure that I'm always communicating what I could do on my status every time. Like I find the most smallest thing that I build a calculator, I put it on my status. What do you think about this? Which one do you think is better? I put that thing because I'm engaging my audience, my people, and that alone creates this illusion that okay, I know a guy that does this. And should there be the next job lying around, the last place they could be recommended, there's one person that they will obviously go to, which is you, right? Yeah, and this is a very clean trick as to getting a job. Like this is basically how I even got my first job. It was true. I didn't get it through LinkedIn. I submitted more than 100 CVs at this point, and nothing really came back until the first person that was always viewing my status said, oh, you know what, let's work you out, let's try something out. So it always starts from, small. You don't have to go to that level of online presence. Starts from, that your close family or close friends. You start there. Then, from there you can now start showing, other things on this. And again, LinkedIn is very important. I keep saying it multiple times because I know how much opportunities I've gotten from there alone. I'm talking people that would want to fly me out just to work on a particular role, and all they saw is me making one or two posts on LinkedIn and say, oh, they like the work, they like this, they like. So as much as LinkedIn is that very, I think it has this reputation for being unrealistic and cliche now. It's still very important. It's a very good way to showcase yourself because people are going to go there to see. A lot of people are more comfortable going there to see what you've done, what you do out there. They see it there and, oh, if you have this kind of presence, then I can trust you with your work because you are definitely good at it. So that's where online optimization comes. So of course you want to know where to be able to search for these jobs, right? So the first one being LinkedIn. Like I said, LinkedIn is still the king, right? Yeah, it's not because it's perfect, but recruiters actually live there. They are recruiters that go there to save portfolios of people because people actually can showcase what they do there on LinkedIn. So you keep your profile fresh, follow companies that you like, don't just look around, engage on the comments or posts. Those things help with your activity. So once you engage, people that you're engaged with are always seeing these things and share what you are learning too. It's good. It's really good. Like I had to take out that whole I don't want to. I think it was a session I attended, a physical one, and I just heard them keep on ranting about this LinkedIn of a thing. And I was like, okay, let me just try. And by this time I was doing all this underground work, maybe working for somebody and someone, and okay, I need to get more out there because that's really how you get the money. That's how you get if you get more physical. Going out for these events, they kept on highlighting on the importance of LinkedIn and how much importance it is to always talk about what you do every week, every 2 weeks. Put something that showcase your progress, your growth. People, you don't know who is watching. That's the very important. And that thing sounds unrealistic, but it's true. Anybody that wants to employ money, if I want to employ, I want to see what you are doing on LinkedIn. I will see your growth. I'll be able to go through your activity log and say, okay, this person last week did something here, and now he's already doing back end. He already has say DevOps include. Like you can see people's growth based on the activities that you put out there on LinkedIn. Like the personal ones don't count because along the line, it's just for you and your close circle. So I know a friend of mine that used to post once a week about his project on data visualization, and some fintech company just said, we've been following your work, and it's the most randomest. Like the main CEO of the thing of I think that was Paystack, and he's been following his work. Is he open for freelance gig? And that's the power of showing up. Right? You have other tools like Jobberman. Those ones give you local opportunities in Nigeria. It's underrated, but there's a lot of entry level roles in it. Mid level roles show there too. and you get alerts too. You get alerts from there. So that's Jobberman. Always check it weekly, and you have Upwork too. Upwork is also a very good platform to search for job and opportunities. You can see a lot of them on Upwork. Yeah. So I put another section here. This one are more organic. So again, there's that life, right? I think what happens with especially entry role people trying to get a job, it's very hard for you to get something, especially if you don't have experience on you. It's very hard for you to get something if you start going for all these platforms like LinkedIn and the likes. I put it first to still buttress on importance, right? Because if you want to scale up, if you want to get something that will get you your first apartment, your first job, you need an online presence. But if you are trying to start and you want to have a foot somewhere, there are organic methods to actually get a job, right? And it's always very, very funny that it is underrated a lot. You see the WhatsApp and the Telegram group chat where you have developers in them. Those are very important. I would say, in fact, as the first, I always deem myself lucky. But when I go back to look at it, I say, okay, maybe it's not just luck. Maybe I actually put myself in the right environment. In terms of getting role, by the first year of learning, I was just 6 months in, and I already started freelancing. It was very interesting and overwhelming because I didn't even know enough to be freelancing. But I had that confidence of, okay, this is something that I want to do, something I can do, and let me do it. And I started with WhatsApp group chat, just joining one tech group chat. There will be one guy that will just come and say, hey, who's up for a gig? It is very common. It's very paramount. And if you're active in this group chat, you're always getting gigs. That was very it was very interesting because prior to that I was searching rigorously for internships. I was searching for jobs. I couldn't find anything. And I was like, okay, let's just join as many group chat as possible to see other developers. And you would think that this is just a place for developers, but no, there are actually people that also recruit people from there. I got my first fintech role from a WhatsApp group chat. It was the most randomest way ever. I was in a group chat and somebody just said, hey, can you do PHP? Who can do PHP and this? And this particular role, I was not active when he posted it like 2 hours earlier, and I came like maybe in the evening and I saw that post and I was like, this is PHP. I was just learning PHP. I think I had 2 weeks on PHP. I did not know PHP. I'm giving you this trick because these are organic ways you can actually find this thing. But I started learning it, and somebody was saying, who can build a PHP with a simple front end? I have a gig, and I was looking at it like, okay, I knew this thing. Let me just try because Sakpa day that time, I was really, really struggling and I needed money. So I called the guy. I just called him like, hey, can I work on this for you? Like I'm really good at what I'm doing, and give me the chance. He said he had already spoken to like two people, and there was one person he was going to select. But because I called him, let's work on it together. So I gave me a simple task. We worked on an e-commerce platform, and I learned all I needed to learn. After doing that, he just said, okay, he has another job for me, and we basically built an entire fintech together. Started from like, I mean, I can see now that if you search for Microsoft Pay, you will see that one of the core developers in that company is me, and that is how it started from. It started from a simple WhatsApp group chat. We set up the API, we connected to the or to the necessary open source APIs that we'll use, and we set up the entire system, and that's how I got my actual first job. And yeah, it's again WhatsApp group chat. So these are organic ways that you can get these jobs. You want to make sure that you are in a lot of technical group chats. You are seeing the activities, you are following. You don't have to be super chatty there. Again, these are for the introvert because I'm one, and I wasn't always talking in any of these group chats. I just was looking at roles that I could get. So the next one is, of course, to be a wingman for your close friends. If you have any developer, if you have anybody that is doing as a designer that is doing something, whatever it is that you are doing, as long as they align with your career path that you set out, always try to be closer with them. If they're your friends, you can talk to them. And how can I help you in anything you are doing? Yeah, I don't need to get paid. Sync me up in this thing. How can I be part of it? And then that brings the relationship where they can even trust you with a little bit of thing, and you don't know where you can automate them from.
The first freelancing job I got, I told you was from a WhatsApp status. Yeah, that's basically how I started. I was always putting out my things on my status, and one day I saw this guy that was complaining about how he doesn't like to stress about front end, right? He doesn't like to stress about doing front end. How I really stress about this, and I just said, hey, I mean, I can do this for you if you don't mind. Let me help you with this. And he said, okay. I mean, he doesn't have much. He said he was going to give me 10K, and I collected it, and I helped him with that, and he brought the next gig and the next 2 gigs for me. That started with communicating with, okay, I can help. I mean, that's basically how it starts, right? You want to, because the first person that will give you a job, realistically, is always somebody that knows you, right? You don't just go to somebody else and say a company and be like, hey, I don't have a project, but can you give me a job? They don't do that. They like people with experiences. So again, there's very few chances that it works, right? But organically, if you want to actually get a job, you want to start with your close friends or close peer. Make connections when you go out for events, technical events. Make sure you are talking to XYZ people. Try to understand what they are doing, how they are working. If you feel like their role is something that is overwhelming for them, you can now start suggesting, okay, I can help you with, you know, ABC. I'm not trying to get a lot of money, just anything that you can give. If you don't even want to give, just have actual projects that you can showcase on your CV. And this is where you can get that. So, of course, the next one is to have an internship. And internships are very interesting or tricky because a lot of people try to use this to take advantage of people. But um, regardless, you want to make sure that you have something that you can work with, something that is not too overwhelming. If you can get those things, you can start. There are a lot of platforms that give you free internship that will give you actual projects. And some might even pay you. If you've heard of Intenshella, very important platform. Intenshella is not Nigerian per se. It's mostly Indian people that are giving out internships, but they pay. They actually pay. They have the ones that pay you will stress you a lot. That's the one thing about it. But they will pay you, and the other platforms that are Nigerian based that don't even request for money. I can't think of a lot from the top of my. I think I have Prodigy Tech and some other ones again. I'm having a problem collecting all these ones because I did quite a number of internships too. So those kind of things are things that will give you the basis or the foundational projects that you can use on your CV. And from there you can start looking for actual jobs. Um, you can look for things like HNG, Zuri, Tech for Dev. Those are standard internships that when you do them, you get something serious. So now we go on to job application and interview success, right? Job interviews, they are very, 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 very interesting, right? You want to start with network tactics. Yeah, apply, but also reach out. If the company has a recruiter on LinkedIn, drop a message. Try to make sure that if there's a job role that you found, you try to do a little bit of stalking. Those things give you edge. I've had a job that was foreign that all I did was looked at the people that were involved in this company, and I started texting the HRs online. I reached out to them, so people from South Africa and the likes, and I told them, "Can you just check my profile? Like I'm actually very good at this thing, and I'm super excited to connect at your company, see what you are doing, and I think I'll be very good for this." And just by that extra effort of reaching out on LinkedIn, it has worked, right? So you want to make sure that you are trying to be different, try to do more, show more strength in what you are doing. Don't just rely on the conventional. I'm going to upload my CV, and when I see maybe 2 to 10 rejection per week, I'm down. Then in another 2 3 months, if I start again, no, no, no. You want to push and do the extra, just like I did when I said I made a phone call to the person to ask him about this particular this particular job, and if he could allow me in, even though I was a couple of minutes late to reaching out to him. And again, the next one is to tailor your resume. Make sure that you have, and I cannot stress this a lot because a lot of people make that mistake every time, right? Don't just send the same resume to every company. Use keywords from your job description, match their language, mirror their tone, make it feel like your application belongs there. It was through them that you actually saw the job before you even applied. And do strategic follow-ups 5 to 7 days after applying. You can follow up with a polite email, especially for smaller companies, because And this is a very good explanation of a situation that has happened where this particular strategic following up worked. I remember there was a particular gig that I and my friend was applying for. I had dropped my CV weeks ago. We dropped it on the same day, and that particular night, he just decided to text them about. It was in midnight. He just had to text them about a follow up. I didn't know he had adapted this process, so he just said, "Okay, let me just ask if there's anything," because that role was something that he was specifically suited for. Now, when he texted around 11 p.m., that was the exact time the recruiter was online just reading through the emails, and he now saw this email pop up at the top, and he just did a follow up on his CV, and that was how he got the role. It was very, very, it was like, you know, luck or chance or whatever English you put to it, but the fact that he was able to follow up, put his request at the top again, allowing them to actually further review his CV, and he got the role. So this particular follow up is very important, and it gives you more shots. Then you now go into the actual interview preparation. Should you get one? Interviews are always looking, at least for the first couple of times, you'll have this energy around how fearful it is. And I just want to say that interviews are things that can be aced easily if you don't put so much fear around it. I could see my first official interview. I was an undergraduate, and it was a very funny one because I'm going for that job. I had quite a lot of people that were definitely better than me at what I was doing. I just started. I was trying to get internships and the likes. And the interview was for a software engineer role, and I got to this place and I was seeing a lot of even my seniors at the time in this same office asking for the same job. And my mindset was like, okay, I'd already lost this job, so I'm just going to be calm. Um rather than just stress about the kind of question they ask for me, I'll be calm about it. And I think there's still luck behind the person I was talking to too, because the interviewer was a very nice person. But the one thing I note or I picked from that particular environment, because I ended up getting the job, was when he asked me what I could do. I didn't try to read out a couple of projects. I just went on to see a particular story. And in this story, I followed the STAR method. There's something called a STAR method where you talk about a situation, you talk about the task that you're doing, the action you did, and the results. It's very important to always use STAR method when you're having a conversation around interview preparation. You discuss, and it was more of a storytelling pattern. I started with where or what drove me into tech to begin with. That could be my situation in this case. I started with what drove me into tech, what was my passion behind it, the interesting things that I had done, the internships, the small online things that I've done. I followed it up with the things that I was able to do. I even asked him if he didn't mind me showing him a couple of my projects, because I was very confident in those, even though those projects were not like the biggest. They were basically things like calculator, to-do list, and the like. They were very simple projects, but just because of the enthusiasm I had around that conversation, it was just a very calm and chilled environment. Then I went on with the results, what I could do, show them projects, things that I've actually worked on. And by that time, I had worked on quite a number of projects. So it's very important to have projects on your head. It's very important to have things that you are doing as you are working. Don't just go through the ideal, conventional, online, should I say, online things that you see there. Like maybe you are going through a tutorial, they tell you, okay, let's build a simple command, and you try to make sure that your projects are customized to things that you can relate to. I think that's a very important thing too. When you are working on projects, make it dynamic to what you can relate to, so that people can actually follow up when you are telling that story. Because there's a different level of energy when you are having that conversation with people. Okay, hey, my environment, maybe I'm a student, I decided to build a learning management platform for my class. Those are kind of projects that relate to your environment. You have used a skill that you know to try to solve a problem within your space or your dominion. So you want to make sure that those are the kind of things that you have on your CV, projects that are customized to your environment, so that alongside talking about maybe something related to work or freelancing, you have something that you're actually passionate to talk about, which is very, very important. So interview preparation is something that shouldn't take you too much. It shouldn't be too much of a threat. Make sure that you research the company, you know what the company does, and you ask them questions to prepare to ask questions, like what this role entails, a little bit about, because an interviewer will always love to know what the question is. Just to know that you actually did more research about the company. And yes, so that really ties the whole scope between a job application and interview success. You make sure that a lot of things are well researched about this company. You're able to articulate yourself properly, and you're more realistic with the projects you've worked in. That way, you can articulate it better. And the next step is to, and I would recommend this. Make sure that you choose a role that you want to target. Very important, just like we discussed earlier. You choose a role that you want to target. Okay, someone's asking a question. Samuel, you can.
Okay, can I speak or when you're done?
Yeah, you can. Let's hear.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. I think okay, let me also comment. Thank you for the presentation and the insight so far. I really appreciate. So I have a couple of questions. So
Okay.
first, when your line was breaking during the CV part, when you were explaining the CV part, you were saying we should highlight something like growth in our CV. I didn't get that part where you said we should like highlight the probably the boot camp, the trainings we went, something like that.
Okay.
I didn't really get that part.
Okay. So
So that is my
okay, to answer
first
that.
question. Should I say all the question or you answer this first?
Okay, yeah. Let me hear everything.
Okay. So the second part is when you said aside the online, like how to get jobs, you mentioned the LinkedIn, the Jobberman, and the Upwork. So the where my question is going to is the organic search method. You said during your time you joined WhatsApp and Telegram group. I want to know, is it that they are we will search for those groups, or how do we find those groups? That is my second question.
Okay.
Okay, and my third question is, you also said you also worked for a fintech when you were starting out. You worked with a friend on a fintech. I want to know. You mentioned the name of the fintech that you said you work with PHP. I didn't really get that name.
Okay, it's called a Mass
So
of P. Mass of P.
can you call it
Does that
again?
answer that? Mass of P. There's
Okay,
also
can you
Cadify
spell
Africa,
it?
if you've heard of Cadify Africa.
Can you spell the mark? I didn't get.
A second, let me type it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I've typed that.
Okay. My last question. Okay, for the CV part, that the one you show, the template you show for that John Doe. So I want to ask, what
Okay.
tool can we actually use to write? Because I don't know, I used to have issue trying to write that CV, like to the designing and everything with my MS Word. So I don't know which tool we can use to write that CV properly. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much for the questions. I will just go back to the first one. I said something about showing a growth pattern in your CV. Like I'm using myself for an example now. If I'm going through a CV, I don't want to see something like just straight up software developer XYZ company. It doesn't show, it doesn't tell a story. It's just showing that you basically copied this section from somewhere. Because if you are somebody that actually learns, or you are, let's say, an example, you're a backend developer, or you are saying you're a mid-level backend developer, you must have started somewhere, right? You want to make sure that the CV is telling a story. Now, in your experience level or your project level, show that you started from, oh, I started from a boot camp. That's an experience, right? I started from a boot camp. I did XYZ in this project. I went on to do an internship. I went on to do a junior role, or I went on to freelance. And in this freelancing, these are the project I worked on before I finally got a job. And now I want to get another one that better suits me. So let your CV tell a story, show a growth pattern that you started from somewhere and you didn't just wake up one day, freelance, and get a job. I don't know if that answers that question. I want to be able to see your growth, how you started, because that will tell me the story of, oh, this person actually knows what he's doing, right? And this is for tailored resumes. These are for resumes that are tailored for specific job roles. Okay. Just a second. I would answer you. I want to make sure I finish up with his own questions. So that kind of, I hope that kind of highlights what the growth pattern explains. Now, I think the second question had to do with where I got the WhatsApp group chat thing. Oh yeah, so yeah, if you join, let's start with boot camps, right? If you're doing any kind of boot camp, they primarily have you added to a WhatsApp group. So that's like the beginning of it. So a lot of the time, the group chat themselves always have like um more links that are sent in the group. Like it's something that just keeps happening, right? If you go online to search for them, even on the internet, maybe group chats about React developers, group chat about this, you'll definitely see something that can navigate you to your WhatsApp group chat about these things. So it's about, if you are looking for it, it will come around. Just search for it better. I don't know if I could send a couple of links to this place. Let me see if I have that chance to do. Oh, okay, my WhatsApp is not connected. But yeah, there are things that you can easily find online, and for every group chat that you are in that is developer related, you can always ask to, because you can always ask, is there a group chat that has React developers? Is there a group chat that have front end developers? Is there a group chat that have designers? There's always somebody that is on one that can help you with the link that you can use to join the next one. So that those things are interconnected. You barely have a developer at some point in time that is not in a developer group chat, right? And that is something that if you ask the right people, they will always navigate you to the next and the next place. So I think that kind of answers your question. Olani Pekun, can you come? Let me hear you.
So it's the last question. Yeah, yet to answer. The part I
What's
said, the template for the John Doe you showed us that what tool can we
Okay.
use to write it. I said I have issue using MS Word.
Okay, yes. So I would advise you to always use Google Docs. I know it's a bit artificial, but you can always get online template for Google Docs that you can import into your system. So the goal, why I say Google Docs, is because the ability to pull out your CV, share it instantly, have it in a permanent place so you don't have to worry about it being lost or anything is very important. And you know how Google can allow you sync all your files. That all my CVs are on Google Docs, and it's very easy. You don't have a problem kind of controlling the section. So if you get a proper online template, you can easily just import it into the system and type it organically. Why I say you shouldn't use some of these online tools. There are a lot of online tools that can help you generate CV, but they are not very good. Why? Some of them give you the resume in a picture format because you don't want to pay, because they probably charge you like what, $15, $10, and you don't want to pay for that. So when they give you their CV, they're giving it in a picture format, which means the text cannot be read through. The text on the CV cannot be read through. If you have an AI that is trying to scan your CV, they will not be able to extract information properly because of the tool that you're using to generate it. So the best thing is to make sure that your CV are organically typed. You type them rawly. And if you're using Microsoft Word locally, I will not advise that. Make sure you use Google Docs. It has a lot of tools. It even has templates on it that you can use. I believe. Um, Let me see if I can show you one. Okay, so this is an example of what it's always looked, and this format, this structure is very good because you can easily just share it to anybody you want to share it to. You can have it on a permanent level where you can just make slight adjustment and it has reflected across all your devices. So I think the best route to use, or the best thing to use when you're trying to generate your CV, is something like this. It's very straightforward. You can center, you can put a line, like there's no dramatic thing about CV. If you structure something as simple as this, right? You just have a simple section where you have your professional, so you put a line. Then this CV is an articulate CV that shows everything that you want to do. And then yes, there are proper templates that you can also use here. I believe when you come to template gallery, there are places where you can see simple CV structure that you can edit to use to, like I'm seeing here. This is a resume. This is a resume template that you can import to. So the best option, the best route is to make sure that you are having an online CV, right? Don't use this is another structure that you can easily edit and use your name here. And that way, if somebody says I need my CV, you just share it as a link or export it as a PDF or as a document anytime you want, anywhere. You don't have to look for it anytime. So you can easily duplicate it also. Make a copy so that you can make another version of your CV. If you want to do CV for data analytics or whatever, this is how you can use them. It's very nice to have something online so that you know that you never lose them. So I don't know if that answers your question finally.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome. So um the next person can say ask his question. That's Olanik Bakumatio.
Okay, thank you, sir. We really appreciate the way you explained and then dissected every aspect of how to get a job and how to get prepared for an interview. Okay, just a quick one. For instance, maybe you are just starting your front-end development journey, and so far you've gotten to a stage that you know that you have confidence in, in handling some projects, but
Okay.
you you got an interview, and then there are some questions they ask you which you are not really conversant with because you are just coming in as a beginner, though not a beginner again, because based on project you have done, because I'm very sure they saw your CV and they've seen the project that you have done in the CV, and that attracted them to actually call you for an interview. Then during the process of the interview, they start asking you some questions that you really don't have knowledge about, like, okay, what database system do you work with, or what how do you work with a UI UX designer when you are given the Figma? What are the tools you are going to use to, to extract the information you have in the Figma file? So now you are just coming, maybe randomly you just get a particular design from a friend and then you work on it, or you just pick up any project from frontendmentor.io and you work on it. But now in this particular aspect of the interview, how do you now answer questions that they ask that you don't even have full knowledge about? Or should we just say you just take the interview as an experience and then use that to prepare for the next interview if peradventure you are called on for the next interview? Then secondly, I someone told me that if you are preparing your CV and you've not even have any work experience, it is advisable for you to have one single page CV. And in the one single page CV, for instance, now you said you should tell a story of your journey so far in the let's say front end development journey, and then in telling your story, you tell the project you have built. Maybe you have built maybe like 10 projects, fantastic project. You know that yes, this project can actually attract the interviewer to actually see what you can do. But unfortunately and unfortunately, the project makes your CV elapse to by 2 pages. So is it now more that you should remove some projects that are not necessary? But don't forget that this project are 10 top projects that you have done. Let's assume in your GitHub, your repository, you have like 54 repositories. And then out of 54 repositories, you have 10 that are fantastic that you want to showcase in your CV. But unfortunately, your CV as a beginner, or since you don't have any work experience or any company experience, you just have to make it a single page. So is it a must that your CV must be a single page CV because you don't have any work experience, only project you have done personally so far?
Okay, so thank you for that question. I would go back to the first one. It has to do with how you process some interviews that don't go well. The first thing when you're having an interview is to make sure that you try as much as possible to research. You can never know everything. And the funny thing is, those interviews, especially the one where they quiz you on specific things, right? It's always coming from a pool of sections that you might not even have considered while you're going for the interview. So yes, it happens, and there really isn't much you can do about that. In that situation, it's like almost writing an exam and you failed. That's just the similar distance. So you just have to make sure that this is an experience for you. You note down the things that you didn't do well in, and go and read up on it. Know why you were asked. Make sure that you implement it in the next project and the next interview. You have a conversation about it. So it's just there's no way to prevent the questions that you can be asked for in an interview, because a lot of the time when somebody puts out a job or a job role, they have an idea of what they want to do, right? If I put out a job application for a role now, I already know that, okay, I want you to come and work on this project, and for you to work on this project, you need to help me maybe use Docker. So I will be the question I'll ask you will be streamlined to the things that I need you for. So if you don't know them, it means that at that point in time, you are not the best option for it. So the chances to make sure that you try to read as broad and as far, and for every interview, you use it as a note to make sure that if I'm going there the next time, I know exactly what this is about and what it can do so that I can have a conversation around it. Most of the time, I try to, at least my early phases, I try to make sure that I was doing my interview around somebody that knew what he was doing. That was just a trick for me, right? A lot of the time, it didn't still go well, to be honest, right? But I tried to make sure that I was around like someone that knew, at least it was more diverse, so that when a question would be asked, I could, you know, steal a couple of insights from him before I answer the question. That was just my trick at the time, at least. So I would say that if you're not able to answer these questions, there's really nothing much you can do but to take it as a learning experience. I'm going to see why exactly were you asked that. How can I make sure that I know just enough so that next time I'm being asked this kind of question in the next interview, I can answer it. So that's just the only and best solution to that situation. And the next thing you asked was something around. Can you recall that for me? Sorry, I have I'm a bit short spaced in memory. Um,
Yeah, I was asking about CV. As a you don't have the field experience, so you have not been working with
good.
any company.
Yes,
I
yes,
think
yes. So in cases like that, right, you want to make sure that you only highlight what is needed, right? Again, when I spoke about CV creation, it's important that when you're applying for a role, it is tailored to that role. You can have 10 projects, but in these 10 projects, just go to their platform, go to their website, look at exactly what they do there, and make sure that the things that you're putting, that in fact, even if you worked on this particular project, like let's say you worked on project one first, you now worked on project 10. Of course, you order it in the order of how you worked on them, right? You carry the one that you know that is relevant to this particular people, the company. Now, it's not about you again. It's about what they want to see. The things that you're putting there, make sure it sticks to only what you think they need, because there's always going to be what the company is about. What are they doing? So you already know that, okay, these are the things that if they're a tech company that deliver UI, pick the ones that have the best interface. If they're a tech company that are trying to solve XYZ problem, whatever you know you are putting out there must be related. You can always shorten it to things that can be related to what exactly you believe that they need, right? It is now when they now start talking about, there's always the question of tell me about yourself. You can now talk a bit about those things that you felt like you needed because they must have gone through what you have in CV. But there's always a way to streamline the items that you have there to the things that are actually needed. So it's never impossible to cut it out. It's always just what is needed. Nobody wants to see 15, 20 projects, because if it's that, then it means I will just go ahead and put out up to 60, because that's the amount of projects that are very cool that I've worked on. No, no, no. You make sure that it is only things that you believe that are needed. And if the company is more centric around design, put only your finest designs there. If they're more centric around functionality, solving only things that solve a problem, then proceed from there. And I don't think two page CV is bad, although one page is really recommended, but I don't think a two-page CV is also bad, right? But then again, for the sake of applying to specific roles, that is all you want to do. Make sure that you don't go beyond that one page and you only put relevant items, just as the CV I showed earlier.
All right, thank you, sir.
Okay. So are there any other questions? Okay, so I will just round up. So like I said, for the next step, right, I would recommend that you choose a particular role that you want to target and you build a portfolio that surround that role and optimize your LinkedIn. Optimize your LinkedIn, optimize your resume, make sure that those things are always updated per milestone that you hit, per project that you create. You know, identify specific platforms that you want to always be on. I really, really recommend Intentional for new beginners. Intentional is very good. Intentional gave me platform for at least 3 different companies that I worked with that were not even Nigerian, and they gave me a shot for real projects. And apply intentional. Don't just do random stuff. Just apply for specific roles that you know that you have more chances to get. Because when you are counting the failures, you're always counting those. If you put your CV for somewhere that has data annotation or one other role that doesn't suit your CV, when the rejection comes, the mental thing is you count it as the loss. So I'm not going to get. It just keeps adding up when you were not really intentional about that application. You were not particular. Okay, this is definitely the role I was trying to apply for. Let me put my CV there. So it's very important that you are intentional about your application, and most importantly, track your journey. Have a list, have a things of roles, platforms, websites that you are going to be targeting, and you know, aim to get at least the ones that you work with. So yeah, I am very appreciative of Tech Up Africa for giving you this platform, and what you do with it from here, that's your story to write. And I hope this session has helped you sharpen your pen more. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ken. Thank you so much for your time. Now I'm feeling bad for the short time we gave you, and I'm tempted to say, oh, please, you can take more time. You can speak as much as you want to. But I also have to now put in consideration the people on the call and considering that they might have some things to do. So Cyprian has his hand raised. So Cyprian, I don't know if you have a question. Please, you can just go ahead and ask your question.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for your presentation. Please, you made mention of a platform during your final speech. Could you please mention it again?
Yeah, I just typed it intentional, and that's the platform.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, David.
All right. Hi. Good evening, sir. I'm I really appreciate you taking out your time to explain all of this to us, and I'm really grateful. So I have just one question, and it's something that is related to what someone else has asked already, but I just need a little bit more clarification. So, is it advisable that when you're just starting out, maybe should you start your journey by applying for roles that you see, or you should first start with things like those WhatsApp groups, speaking to people that you know, and trying to possibly get jobs from there so that you can get experience to put on your resume? Because for sometimes it can be tempting to want to go straight into the job market, even though we might not have the relevant experience. So what do you advise? Which is better, or is it something that you could do together, or you do one before the other?
I would say both, right? Because you really don't want you should put, just as you tax yourself in learning, you should also tax yourself in almost searching for this. You have it as a tax too that you always do, right? Because you really don't know what clicks. That's the thing. I almost call myself lucky because the way my own flow came around was random. It was just more of like I was there at the right time. I've even gotten to work with a governor just through just being at the right, and it wasn't through application, it was just through WhatsApp group chat. I literally was in WhatsApp group chat, somebody says, hey, can you do this? And it turns out it was the aide to a governor, and I was 1 minute I was scared, next minute I was there. It was a very wild experience. But first, don't limit yourself to just one environment. Although it can be very, very stressful going through the okay, I want to just go straight up to the application without experience. Easiest and the one that will actually work is to go through the organic route first. Get project, get experience. Because when you are going to be asked in an interview, nobody realistically is going to come and say, oh, you don't have experience, let me give you this, let me give you this opportunity. The chances that will happen is, let's say they don't want to pay you at all, right? You and that is also not a bad thing. It kind of is, but it's not a bad thing because when they actually see you can perform, you get to now negotiate properly. But my advice in this case, just because it worked for me, and I think it also has worked for a lot of people, go through the organic route first, communicate with people, talk to people, join group chats, text people, tell them you can do this, give them the assurance, show them the little project you've done, and do something so that you can have projects that you can show because that's the only thing that will actually make your resume stand out. If you don't have projects, nothing works. So yeah, that's my answer to that.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Samuel, you asked me a question.
Yes, one question came to my mind now. So the part of building an online, like showing yourself, putting yourself out there. So I have a question to ask. When you are just starting out, you build projects and you take it out there, you explain, you also show the progress. I don't know. Is it okay to like display your projects? I'm having this fear. Is there a fear that probably someone will probably steal your project, your idea, or something like that? Probably you are just trying to showcase your products, and also as you hit milestone, you are updating your CV. You're updating your CV and your portfolio. So should someone have this fear that probably someone out there will steal your project, or I don't know what we can do about that.
Yeah, I mean, if you feel like what you have is something unique, and you can pursue it further, I would say for your comfort, don't put it out. As well, because a lot of even companies, when you go to work on a project that they feel like is unique and is marketable, they give you NDAs to sign. And when you put out your project, you don't have any NDA to sign. Somebody will just pick it up from there. So what I would say is, um, you know, there will always be projects that you can showcase. There are always projects that are generic that showcase your skill. Then the ones that you have that are more patent to you, it can always be more of a conversation rather than giving them the entire flow process if you are not comfortable with it. Again, it's about what you are okay with. The moment you have such doubts, even a lot of hackathons that you see today are hackathons that they put out there so that they can see which of the ideas that can be that is marketable and they can take it up from there. So it's the reality of life right now. A lot of them you can't mitigate, but in the end, you still want to be able to showcase yourself. It's very important. So always make sure you have projects that you can put out that showcase what you can do. Now the ones that you're not okay with, let it be more of a conversational thing. Oh, I'm working on a project that can do XYZ. Oh, I'm working on because you cannot eat it. It still needs to go out there some way or another. So if you're not okay with putting out your flow, your sketch, your schema, no problem. Have it as more of a conversation. But make sure you have something to actually show. That's what I can say about that.
All right, thank you very much.